And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day. And, communities are important. Now, I know a lot of you are introverts like me, and the idea of going to parties and dealing with small talk and just socializing in general is a big bag of nope. I get it, okay? I get it. But here's the thing. Even for all of us who prefer a quiet night alone, a true community actually can be really cool and is important for our sort of general well-being and all that nonsense, okay? So today we're going to talk about how we can sort of cultivate meaningful connections, right? How do we actually deal with people, and how even in small doses, being part of a community can actually be great for your mental health, for your emotional, even physical health, okay? But really, all, it's a weird topic, okay? But it's true, and it hit me the other day that I like being part of a community, even if it's only a little bit, okay? Because communities are cool. Now, let's start with a couple of myths, I guess maybe you want to call them, where because it's easy to think about communities and think about, yeah, I'm a dedicated introvert. This isn't going to work for me, okay? And we're not talking about diving into situations where you're just going to drain your emotional battery, okay? I've been there. Trust me, okay? But there are things that we tend to think about in communities that it isn't entirely true, okay? So the first one is that community means constant socializing, okay? And that's not true, okay? For introverts in particular, right? If you're one of those people like me who dealing with people just drains you, okay? The trick is quantity. It's not quantity, quality time, okay? Not quantity time, quality time. So having a strong community for you, and certainly for me, definitely means having a handful of connections and not necessarily this big honking network of I know everybody and I have to be sure I spend 20 minutes a day with all of my friends and I never have time for me. No, that doesn't work for me. I understand it may not, probably won't work for you either. But sometimes just having a couple handful, 5, 6 of really deep connections can be a good thing. All right. And sometimes those are families and stuff. Okay, we'll get into that a little bit, but just having a few of those connections can be great. Okay. The second myth here is that community requires you to be an extrovert. Okay, no. It's easier for extroverts to sometimes fit into a community, but for an introvert, sometimes what you need is someplace small, and the fact that you are quiet and thoughtful, it can be a good thing. Okay, we talked about last week all of those awesome things that make you amazing and wonderful and stuff. All of those come into play here, and it's not like we a community necessarily needs you to be loud and outgoing and the life of the party. Sometimes a community needs you for your skills of listening or empathy or any of those types of those quiet skills, okay? Or sometimes they need you for your sense of humor. See, I'm one of those people, right? I stream, I do podcasts, I like to do improv, though I haven't done that for a couple of years. Right, I like to perform, but dang, being around people gets draining. So yeah, being there could be really fun and helpful for me and everybody else. But I'm not going to be the life of the party, right? I might be there for some bad jokes on occasion, okay? And that's okay. The community where it needs you is because of you. All right. Now, the other myth is that community is about large groups, right? Now, there may be some large groups, right? And we may get into that a little bit more later, but right, your church, for example, if you go to a church, that's a fairly large community. But the reality is you may not deal with all of them all the time. Okay. Maybe it's your Sunday school class or your um or something else, right? It might be a little bit smaller, right? But the idea is, hey, maybe can you find a are you part of a book club, which might be only 4 or 5 people, right? An online community like the music free gaming community, for example, might be one that you can sort of dip your toes into and out of. Um, okay, there could be some issues with online communities, but it's a place where hey, you can share, we can you know help support each other, lots of things. And we'll get into the benefits of communities here in just a minute. But said a community doesn't have to be huge, right? Really, what a community is it's a group that brings a sense of belonging or shared purpose or mutual support, right? It's about finding your people, right? And it doesn't matter how many necessarily there are in that group, but it's a place where you can feel safe and understood and that value you for who you are. Even if you are a person like me who doesn't necessarily want to be involved in everything, all right? And it's sometimes about having a safety net or a sounding board or a place where you can just recharge a little bit. Now, again, that's harder for introverts in general, and definitely for me in particular. Even just spending time with my wife, whom I love dearly, is draining. Okay, so I get that. But definitely having a place that and a group of people that accepts you for who you are is awesome. Okay, it is really, really great. And there are a lot of benefits of being part of a community, all right? So, for example, mental well-being, all right? We'll give that a heading here. People get lonely, despite the fact that, as an introvert, I often like to just sit and read or play on my computer or whatever. Loneliness is real, y'all. And we might be maybe more immune to it than others as introverts, but we need people, okay? Chronic isolation is not great, okay? It leads to anxiety, it leads to depression, right? We need a little bit of interaction, okay? Now, how much interaction will depend on everybody in particular, but we need some form of connection, okay? And it helps to know that, hey, if there's something going on, you need somebody to talk to, there is somebody there, okay? Even if you don't do it often, right? It is really beneficial, okay? We talked about preparation on the show a little while back. This is one of those ways to prepare. Because you never know when something's going to happen and you just need somebody to talk to, okay? It's easier to do that when you have somebody you already know and trust and have that with, okay? Sometimes when we have to deal with emotional issues, okay? And believe me, emotional issues are not my strong suit one way or another. I have them. I have a hard time helping others with them, okay? Sometimes, but having somebody that you can trust that can give you a safe space to sort of vent, to validate your feelings, right? To listen to you without judgment can be liberating, okay? it's it's a friend who doesn't necessarily always show up, you know, all right, it's 6 p.m. I am here and we're gonna party. No, it's someone who's like, look, I know you're going through a hard time. Let's talk. Okay. And sometimes sometimes you need that friend who can kick your butt when you need it. All right? Because sometimes it's easy to let yourself just get sucked in, right? And just wallow in your darkness, whatever defines that. And having that friend or a group of friends who can pull you out of that is honestly is something I've missed. Okay, I've got my wife, and again, she's awesome, but that's kind of about it. And that's not great for me either. All right, on a practical side of things, it's nice to have somebody you can either ask for advice or for help with a project or I don't know, bringing people together to help do something more than you can do yourself. All right. This hit me actually just yesterday. We were moving a bookshelf out of our storage unit into our house. Okay. And we were originally looking at, okay, we'll strap it to the roof of our RAV4 because we've got the luggage rack and all that stuff up there. And I looked at that and I realized, you know what? That's not going to work. So I dropped a text into the community channel. In this case, it was for church. I said, hey, does anybody have a pickup, this afternoon, this evening, whatever, that you can just help bring a bookcase back for me? Right? And I'm there, I'm helping to lift and all this stuff. I just need something more suited to the task than my RAV4. And I got somebody who said, yeah, oh yeah, I could be here this afternoon. We can make this happen. And he brought his pickup with a trailer, and we were able to bring it in, dropped it off home. And because I wasn't ready to move it anywhere yet, okay, cool, thank you. And his fact that the guy's mother lives next door to me was great for him. He just parked his truck and went next door and spent time with his family. Okay. It's great. I've had a couple of those types of situations where I've either gone to help somebody move in or they've come to help unload a truck, right? Because especially over the last couple of years, when I was bringing stuff back from my dad's house as we were getting that cleaned out, oh yeah, we needed hands. And we got a bunch of them, and it was wonderful, okay? That can bring also a sense of purpose and contribution, because words are hard, and being able to talk to other people may help you with your words. No, a community can help you share your skills and insights and strengths, right? So last week we talked about what makes you amazing. But that amazingness, how much good does it do if you're always alone in your house, right? Sometimes, often, I think, we all need to feel like we're part of something bigger, a feeling that we can contribute. Okay, now again, as an introvert, I'm not out joining every board in the town, right? I'm not on the parks board, all right, all this stuff, right? But it's nice to be part of something bigger, and being part of your community in that way can be a huge boost for you. Yes, they could need you too, but it could be a huge boost for you. I love the time I was serving on the board of the local chapter of the American Red Cross. That was great for me. I thought I was doing a real benefit for the community. And when we had a situation, I think I've talked about it in the past, where our city's water supply was poisoned, salmonella contamination, I was immediately there to help get on with that and help with that project. Now, it was a little bit annoying. Every time we assigned a new person to lead our efforts, the city snagged them to help with their citywide efforts. That was annoying, but uh, but it was still awesome to be part of that. Okay, and finally, personal growth is a thing. Okay, it can be really easy to want to just sort of settle down into your comfort zone and just not leave it. All right, and believe me, I'm right there with you. Because the comfort zone is comfortable. It's why they call it the comfort zone. But having some friends or a community that can help pull you out of that once in a while, help stretch your boundaries a little bit, can be wonderful. Help you find new things about yourself that you didn't know. Right? I've always known I've liked to perform. Right? That's one of the reasons I like streaming. I took a theater class in school, but when I decided to take that improv class, it was great, and it was great having a group that helped push me to be better in a lot of ways. Now, that's something I kind of decided to do on my own, but actually it was really nice having my daughter there with me as well. But it can be really cool to help find hobbies, things you didn't even know that you were excited about. So, for example, at church, the Relief Society, which is sort of the women's group in our church, gets together every month and does an activity of some sort. Sometimes it's not much more than a, hey, we're going to get together, we're going to have treats and maybe a spiritual message or something like else. Other times it's we've brought somebody in to help teach a new skill of some sort, right? So there were a couple of times my wife has been asked to come teach people how to make soap, because this is something my wife loves to do, right? She loves to make, she does cold process soap. This is your lye-based soap, okay? Now you can do melt and pour, right? Where you basically just buy a block of soap from the store. You can melt it into molds and do all sorts of fun stuff with it, okay? But she showed them how to make soap, and you can add your own scents and do all this cool stuff. And then, okay, here's how I do it with the lye. But then she also brought a bunch of melt and pour so that people could have fun just making their own little soaps and adding the scents and the colors and things that they wanted. And there were kids who were all excited about being able to make their soaps, and other people came back to her. This was amazing. I love this. The soap is so much better on my skin, right? And they've started doing it themselves, right? Who knew, right? It's one of those things. I didn't know I wanted to do this, right? That's the feeling. It's sometimes having a community, having a group that can help pull you into some of those other things, or help you explore existing talents. And let's get into that a little bit, because building your community or becoming part of a community is tough, okay? Again, for those of us who are on the introvert side of the scale, right? Knowing that I really want to get out with people, but there are people out there, okay? I get that. I totally get that, right? I every once in a while I feel like that bear in Bedknobs and Broomsticks with next to the sign, no peopling allowed, right? I get that. I totally get that, right? But there are some ways you can actually become part of that community without just killing yourself, all right? In a metaphysical sense, right? How do you deal with all of the community stuff, right? And do it within your own limits. Because this is the thing, right? As introverts, dealing with people sucks to a certain extent. It's draining. So the first thing you need to do is sort of understand your limits, right? You don't go into a situation that's at least to start, that's more than you can handle comfortably, okay? So that might mean that, hey, you're not doing this every day. Maybe it's once a week, every couple of weeks, right? It's a small group. I said, maybe it's a book club or something along those lines, where it's just a handful of people, versus we are going clubbing. Okay? Pick something that's works for you and how your energy levels work, okay? The next thing you might try is something that focuses on a shared interest, okay? Because hey, the reality is that's what's going to be really engaging, okay? Yeah, it's sometimes fun to be with people and it can be a laugh and all that stuff, right? But maybe you want to find a group that, hey, we just like to play board games. So you get a handful of people, you sit and play board games every couple of weeks. Or maybe it's a pottery class, or maybe you go to practice historical European martial arts, right? Because who doesn't want to learn how to use a saber? I would love to go learn a saber technique. I don't have a HEMA school near me, but that would be awesome, right? Maybe you just have a group of people you get together and you game with, right? Maybe you jump into Minecraft or Fortnite or whatever, right? That could be cool too. Now, the nice thing about working with something like a book club or even a volunteering or something like that is you don't necessarily have to come up with topics of conversation. You don't have to think out what you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about the book. Okay? If you're volunteering at a animal shelter, right, which a couple of my kids do, partly because it's a great way to hold the cute little fuzzies, and but you're not having to figure out, oh, what are we talking about? We're talking about the cats, okay? That could be a huge win, and you can actually make some friends there. But the key is maybe start small, right? Grab a friend or two, and maybe a family member, right? Because your family is a community too. And so grab a person and said, all right, the two of us, we're going to do a couple of things, right? And especially if they're an introvert, they might be in the same boat. It's like, no, we are going to get together once in a while and let's do a thing, right? And again, know your limits and also your schedules, right? You know, if you've got kids at home or school or work obligations, obviously that's going to be an issue. Okay. But start small and focus on the quality time. Okay. And again, also true with your family. Okay. Quality time is awesome. But you can also look at things like, said, online communities. I love the music free gaming community. We are a small community. That there's no getting around that. And that's not a bad thing. We all sit and chat and you know, when I'm streaming and the people know each other, right? They're talking to each other in chat. It's like, oh yeah, they form a connection with each other, right? And so we can chat off stream in the Discord. And no, we're not a talkative bunch, and that's okay, right? But it's important that whatever you decide to do, okay, be gentle with yourself, okay, and understand that everything's going to take some time to build some of those connections. And I know it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to give up. It's easy to say, you know what? No, I'm just going to go back to my book, okay? And that's fine. I'm excited. I just got a book at the library. I've been wanting to read forever. Yes, there are times I just want to sit and read. And I definitely did that yesterday. So, but it's okay if it takes a while to find your niche. Find the community that works for you, okay? It's cool. That's there's nothing wrong with that. But it helps to work on it a little bit just so that you have something that's fulfilling for you. All right. Now, it's okay to say no to things, right? If you have a small friend group, right? It's easy to say, I can't do a big party, right? Thank you for the invite. I can't do a party. I would love to get together, you know, one-on-one or something like that. That's okay. be open about it. And yeah, sometimes it's going to be a yes, I will go to this party. Yes, it's going to be I'm going to be 3 days recovering from it. But yeah, I'm going to help them celebrate their promotion or anniversary or random Thursday, okay? but but don't be afraid to say, look, I would I can't do this. I would love to connect. This this is too much for me. And be honest and open about it. Okay? Don't lie to yourself, don't lie to them, right? And as you build those connections, yeah, they'll understand. And have those one-on-ones, right? One-on-one interactions can often be so much better for you, the person you're meeting with, and you can sometimes forge a stronger connection. Okay, I know I was filling in as an interim team lead while they were doing a job search for a new lead, and one of the things I learned, one, studying about management in general and dealing with a team, is I much prefer managing people one-on-one. Team meetings are fine. Sometimes they're necessary. But one-on-one is the way for me to go. Okay? Because I think I can get into a deeper, more meaningful conversation with the person one-on-one than I can in a team meeting. The same is true with people. I much prefer dealing with people one-on-one or in, 2 or 3 people rather than bigger groups. I feel more comfortable. Yes, sometimes I do like to go to the parties at church. We've got one next week. There's a barbecue. I'm going there for the food, but I'm also not the type who's going to circulate the crowd and try to talk to everybody. I'm not that person, okay? But having those couple of people, it's like, yeah, we can build that connection. We can talk, and we can go go for a walk or play a game or whatever. That time is awesome. Okay, so community, it's not a one size fits all thing. Okay, for those of us, again, on the introvert side of the scale, it could be more about finding your group, finding your people, right? And maybe it's the anime club, or it's the HEMA group, or it's this group that goes hiking every couple of weeks or something, right? It's about finding those people that understand you and respect your needs to be alone from time to time, or lots of time, while still wanting you to be there, right? And that's admittedly, not always an easy thing to do. But it helps build this sort of emotional and sometimes physical safety net of connections that help enrich your life without wiping you out, okay? Okay. Because the reality is there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, okay? Society might want to tell you differently. There's nothing wrong with that. It's what you do with it that can be a problem. And your ability to be alone is a gift. It is a strength. But if you let it isolate yourself, it's bad for your mental health. It's bad for, well, it can build anxiety for a number of reasons, right? All that stuff, all those benefits of community, without those, it can be a problem. So being able to reach out quietly, one-on-one, in small groups, that can be that meaningful connection for you and for the people that you're connecting with. So to help you thrive, right? Now, I could issue a challenge, right? I could say, hey, this week, go find a community. That would be great, okay? Yeah, you could reach out to an old friend. You could find a new hobby, something, okay? That's fine. And okay, if you want to do that, do that. But maybe take stock of where you're at. It's like, do you feel like you have the connections in your life that you need? And maybe the answer is yes, and that's great. Okay? And but think about, hey, do I have people in my life I really need to connect with again? Do I need to reach out to my family more? Right. I haven't talked to my sister in 6 months. Right? I really need to call her. Okay. I'm an introvert from a family of introverts. Communication is not our strong suit. But I really need to talk to my sister from time to time, right? Do you know those things? Is there a hobby you've been wanting to take up? And maybe it's something quiet at home. Maybe it's something that, yeah, I could go out and find a hiking group or something, right? Whatever works for you. Think about that. That would be my challenge this week. Take an honest look at yourself. Not just, oh yeah, I'm an introvert, I'm good. But take an honest look at yourself and see if, hey, is there something missing? Is there a connection here that I could be building? Something that would help build myself, right? Or a way that I can help share all of those awesome and amazing things that we talked about last week, right? The trick with dealing with community and honestly relationships in general for an introvert is quality time and being intentional about it, okay? Because the reality is I can't handle people that much, okay? But I need interaction. I need some of that. I just have to be more intentional about it. And focusing on that quality time, focusing on some of those things, actually really is a help for me. And I hope that it will be a help for you as well. So, until next time, be excellent to each other. And this is Music Free Static signing off.